To coincide with COP29, the United Nations has released a report on the threat climate change poses to refugees. It warns that 90 million displaced people are living in countries heavily impacted by climate change, and half of those places are also experiencing conflict, including Somalia, Sudan and Syria. The report says that by 2040, the number of countries facing extreme climate-related hazards is expected to rise from 3 to 65. Andrew Harper is Special Advisor on Climate Action to the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees.
When you're a refugee and you're being forced to flee your community and you're going into another country, where you settled or what's being offered is not the most prime real estate. So people are finding refuge in deserts, they're finding refuge in areas which are going to be flooded, areas which can be toxic. So where you find refugees are in the places where no one else wants. And so what we've found with a recent study is that 3/4 of all refugees around the world are located in these climatic hotspots, places which are being hit by drought, by floods, by cyclones. And so, yes, our role here is to make sure that when you have these discussions at COP, that people are at the front and centre, and those people who are most vulnerable are taken into account.
What's the fix?
Well, the fix is to try and make sure that the money that's been promised, it's easy to make promises, it's easy to make commitments, but no one's necessarily basically living up to these promises. So we need the money to get out the door, and we need the money to be going to the communities on the front line. We need to be getting to the women, to the farmers who are looking after climate-smart agriculture. We need to be getting the teachers being paid. We need to be getting money out of the banks, out of the capitals, into these frontline communities.
So who is delivering on their promises and who is not delivering?
Well, basically, there's very few people who are delivering. Often, probably some of the most effective ways of getting money is through remittances from the communities that are overseas and sending it back to Somalia or Kenya or Uganda and elsewhere. But we are seeing changes. We are seeing, for instance, the Green Climate Fund who are putting money into Somalia. We are seeing efforts now to de-risk investments. But it's not enough. Like part of the hundreds of millions of dollars that were promised in COP28 last year in the UAE, where is that? So it's not necessarily about asking for more money. It's about getting the money that's being promised to actually be delivered as people committed to.
It's a rather depressing thing to say, but war probably isn't going away in the world, and climate change isn't going away either. What is the outlook on this? Well,
it depends on us. Like, if we want to ignore it and basically sort of cocoon ourselves into our own sort of safety nets, then no, it's not going to go away. It's only going to get worse. But if we actually believe in climate justice, if we believe in human justice, then we should be saying, look, like people who are being impacted, who've contributed the least to the climate crisis, should be supported, particularly those host countries like Kenya or Uganda or Bangladesh that have opened their doors to millions upon millions of people fleeing conflict, but are also being hit by climate change. Why don't we prioritise those communities to get climate financing? But don't make them take exorbitant loans at high interest rates. Like, these countries are doing a global good, and so they should not have to put in further debt to do that. So there are options. There's money out there. It's an issue of prioritising to make sure it gets to those people that need it most.